Hello guys, I hope you guys are doing well. Shooting this video to present to you the greatest investors of all time. Yes, the greatest investors of all time. Um, in this list, I'm going to cover about 5 investors in detail, and I'll just throw up some names after that. These are investors that I think they've got extraordinary record, and for each investor, we'll discuss their investment record. Then we'll discuss their approach. How is it that we name them as the greatest investors of all times? So what is it that they do special than others? What makes them different from other investors and besides their record? So let's get started with the guy on the screen right now. So this is my favorite investor of all times. His name is David Tepper. So David Tepper, actually, according to Wikipedia, he started investing in 1994. So before that, he worked for Goldman Sachs as a trader there. So you'll be surprised, a trader who got extremely wealthy. Usually, you don't get traders coming this far. You get investors coming this far, and there's a difference between traders and investors. So David Tepper, um, he's worth about 12 billion US dollars. Very wealthy. And he started his Appaloosa management in 94. From 1994, this is his record, by the way. His record is very interesting. After this, we're going to discuss his investment approach. How did he manage to achieve such a record? From 1994 until 2014, he achieved an average of 40% per year. Yes, that's how great this guy is. We have to understand how he does it, because 40% per year for how many years? For 20 years. It's not an easy record. After that, since 2014, I mean since 1994, beyond 2014, his investment record has kind of decreased. His average, I mean, from 40% to 32%. So in years after 2014, he couldn't keep up with the 40% per year investment return. But anyway, let's just cover how does this guy think. So I've watched a couple of videos. There's very few information about him out there, newspapers and the likes. So it's not like other investors whom you'll find um, websites discussing his investment approach and the likes. But David Tepper, he was a distressed trader. So he takes the approach of buying massively. So he takes time to study the business. He takes time to study a municipal. So he invests in both equities and bonds. So he takes time. So as a distressed investor, he takes time, his time, to study a situation, to assess the conditions, to manage his risk. After that, when it's time for jumping in, he doesn't hesitate. He doesn't. So in his best records, um, and he's very powerful investing during crisis. Actually, the best records that is ever achieved is during crisis. We currently experiencing corona crisis. I'm looking forward to getting records of how he's doing, because the previous crisis, 2 crises, he's made more money than um, anybody I know, right? Just during the crisis. So in the first crisis, which was the dot-com boom, after he started his Appaloosa management, he, in 2003, returned 149% in 1 year. 149%. Yes, a triple digit return in 1 year. 149%. That was in 2003 after the dot-com boom. So he did extremely well, extremely well, extremely well. And again, in 2009, during the famous financial crisis, David Tepper returned a staggering 133%. So this kind of returns should tell you that this guy waits until during the crisis. In the midst of the crisis, when forced sellers are selling, when greedy people are thinking, no, I've seen a good enough of a loss, so let me cut my losses and sit on my cash. It's better to sell and return some money than to lose all of it. When investors are projecting situations to infinity, that's when he pounces in massively to go for triple digit returns. And that's how he's achieved his return, a great return indeed. In 2018, there were rumors that he's closing down Appaloosa Management. He's taking out investors' money back to investors, saying he couldn't see opportunities. But I understand that was because the crisis he had spent 10 years without seeing a crisis, of which on average 7 to 10 years you should see a serious crisis, some 30% decline, which he had not experienced that. So I hope with this crisis is going to come back in business, because it's a huge inspiration for me and many other guys. Is a huge inspiration. The second investor is Peter